Greetings of the day, everyone. Today we'll be discussing the extract based questions of this poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, and it's written by Stephen Spender. Now let us start. This extract starts from Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, and ends with the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes. Question 1. What does the expression far, far from gusty waves signify? Now, the gusty waves are basically very fast flowing waves which are full of liveliness. So, this expression basically means that the children's lives, children who are living in slums, their lives are away from all the natural beauties, all the happiness, and they live their lives confined in the slums. Their life is not lively, brisk, and they live in dark and dingy environment. That is, all of their life is confined in a slum which is dark and dull and lifeless. Question 2. Explain like rootless weeds. Now, in like rootless weeds, the poet has basically used simile where he has compared the children's faces, basically their hair, with rootless weeds, and this signifies that their unkept hair, that is their hair are unkept, they are not combed properly, and they are scattered here and there like rootless weeds. Just as rootless weeds are uprooted from the plantation because they contaminate the whole crop, in the same way their hair are appearing as if it is torn, it is set up as patches on their pale appearance. This also signifies that these children are scattered away from the happening society, the civilized society, just like rootless weeds. How is the girl affected by her poverty? In this question, we are asked about the line where we talk about the tall girl with her weighed down head. This shows that she is burdened by poverty, she is subdued and suppressed, and her head is bowed down due to her impoverished existence. That is, she does not have basic necessities of life, and she is not living in good conditions. She is under the economic stress that she and her family has to face. That is why her head is weighed down. What is the comparison drawn with rat's eyes? Now, the boy whose eyes has been compared as rat's eyes, basically it signifies that his eyes are searching for food, searching for all the good things that he has been deprived of, just as a rat finds for foods and runs here and there. In the same way, the boy's eyes are appearing as if he's finding food, he's finding shelter, he's finding economic security for himself. The stunted unlucky hire, his eyes live in a dream, and it ends with off squirrel's game in tree room other than this. So who is the unlucky hire? The unlucky hire is the thin slum boy who is just who has the disease of twisted bones. He has inherited nothing from his father but his disease of twisted bones, and this signifies he is malnourished. Question 2. Who is sitting at the back of the class unnoted? So a boy is sitting at the back of the class. He is unnoted. Nobody is noticing him, but he's very sweet and young, and he's lost in his own fun world. He's dreaming of squirrels playing in the tree room, and his eyes are full of hope that he will come out of this condition. He will come out of his cycle of poverty. What is the significance of the phrase other than this? Now, in the end, the poet has used the phrase other than this because he wants to set a contrast that what the boy is thinking about. Boy is thinking about the lively game of squirrels in the trees. That is very much a contrast to the condition of the children in these slums. So, this phrase is used to set this contrast. Allows children to think of a world other than the slum, and this is a hope of better tomorrow. Now, this phrase, it also signifies that author is basically hopeful that the children will get a better tomorrow, and it allows the child to think of a world other than the slum. That is what the unnoted child that was sitting at the back of the classroom was trying to think, that he will get a better future and he will come out of this cycle of poverty. Why is the class dim? Now the class is dim, it has a sour cream colored walls, and this gives a very dull appearance to the slum classroom. It gives the unhappy ambience, or what do we call it, environment. And and in on the top of that, this dull and lifeless classroom is having children who are who are in the clutches of poverty. On sour cream walls, donations. And this paragraph ends with open handed map awarding the world its world. So, what are the donations on the wall? Now, the donations on the walls are basically the names of the donors which have donated something to construct this elementary school classroom, and the various pictures are set up which are basically useless for the children because the Tyrolese Valley map, Shakespeare's portrait, and the pictures of dooms, etc., they're all useless for the children. So these are the donations that have been put up on the walls, which also indicate the poor infrastructure. What does the Shakespeare's head suggest? This is irony. Shakespeare's portrait has been put up in an elementary classroom, and the children who are not getting even basic education, good quality education, they have no relation with Shakespeare, who is the literary giant. This portrait, which has been put up, it raises false hopes for children, and it is irrelevant because they are not getting even basic education. How will they go on to study such high level pieces written by this poet? Why has the poet used the images cloudless dawn and civilized dome? Now, these images, the cloudless dawn and the civilized domes, they are in contrast to the suppressed slums. The slums in which children have to spend their day and night, these images are basically in contrast. And these buildings, the civilized domes, the civilized buildings, they obstruct their views, obstruct children's view to the real world, and they never see the real world outside. This is the image that the poet is trying to set up. What does the map award the world? This map, which has been put up in the classroom, this awards children false hopes and aspirations, and it also motivates them to express the outside world, which is impossible for them to achieve, impossible for them to live in. And it also signifies that these children have the capacity to explore a world outside this filthy slum. They can step out of this filthy slum if they take the help of education and knowledge. And yet, for these, and this paragraph ends with far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of the world. Question 1. What does the future hold for these children? So, obviously, the future of the children living in the slum is bleak. It has no prospective success, and they have a very unclear life ahead of them. Achieving their hopes and their dreams is a distant task for them, a task which is very far away and which will not be achieved anytime soon. What bounties are these children deprived of? Basically, in this question, we are asked about what are the basic things which the children are deprived of. Basically, the bounties refer to the natural beauties. So, what natural beauties, natural beautiful things are the children deprived of? Children are deprived of all the beautiful bounties of nature, and they spend their lives in filth and dirt and dull environment. So, basically, they are deprived of all the good things that nature has to provide. Question 3. What is meant by stars of words? The star of words, this phrase means that the children are far away from the world of knowledge and wisdom. Basically, poet has set up our life as a sky, and in this sky there are stars of words which twinkle and give us more power and success. So this is the phrase star of the words. Words giving knowledge and empowerment, and the twinkling stars of wisdom that add sparkle to our sky of life. What does lead sky symbolize? Lead sky. Lead is a chemical compound which is black in color, and this lead color has been given to the sky. This symbolizes black or dull sky, which is totally in contrast with the blue sky. And this lead sky is obstructing the hopes and happiness of the slum children. They basically live in an environment which has a lead sky. Next paragraph starts with, surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, and it ends with, from fog to endless night. Question 1. Who is referred to as wicked? Obviously, Shakespeare is referred to as wicked because his portrait has been put up on the classroom wall, and the portrait has been put up so that children may know about him. But the slum children, they are not getting even basic education. So, how would they go on to study this literary giant? So, his pieces are of no value to them, and putting up his picture is very ironic, and it tempts them to steal good things, it tempts them to dream about good things which they may not get. Question 2. How is map a bad example? Now, author has also called map a bad example and Shakespeare wicked. He has called map a bad example because this world map that has been put up on the wall, it shows them a beautiful world and a bright world which is totally in contrast to the world they are living in presently. This raises false hopes in them, and it confuses the children that yes, there is a world outside which is beautiful from our environment, and due to our condition, due to the poor conditions we are living in, we may not be able to see this outside world. Question 3. Where do their worlds slyly turn? So in this line, the author is saying that if the classroom is making them study Shakespeare or showing them the world map, this is of no use because ultimately they have to go back to their filthy and dull slums in the cramped holes. So why not always put them in that condition also? Why are you taking them out of that condition if ultimately they have to go back to their cramped holes? Cramped holes basically mean very congested underground openings. So basically, if they have to go into these cramped holes, if the children have to ultimately push towards poverty, why are the school authorities making them hope and dream? Question 4. Explain from fog to endless nights. This phrase basically means that children's lives are full of misery. Their day starts with a fogless morning, a fogful morning, and it ends with endless nights which they have to basically live through. So indirectly, the author is saying that the children always have to live in misery, and they cannot come out of this condition until and unless the higher authorities do something for them. Next paragraph starts with, on their slag heap, these children, and it ends with, so blot their maps with slums as big as doom. So what is slag heap? Slag heap is basically a collection of dirt and garbage. The literary meaning of this term is a collection of dirt and garbage. So slag heap has been compared to the children's physical structure, and their slag heaps. On the slag heaps, children wear skins through which their bones are protruding. Basically, the author is saying that the children are basically living in the conditions full of dirt and filth, and their future is unclear. Their life is stuck on this dirt and filth, and they may never come out of it. Question 2. Why are the bones peeping through their skins? Because they are malnourished, they are not getting a proper food, they do not have a proper shelter. To signify this weak physical structure, the author has used the phrase bones peeping out of their skins. Their bodies basically look like skeletons which have not been fed properly. So this phrase is very apt to signify the physical structure of these slum children who are malnourished, who are undernourished. Question 3. What is the comparison drawn with bottle, bits and stone? This bottle, bits and stone basically means that the poet is saying these children's bodies are appearing as if they are broken pieces of bottle which are put upon a stone. Their body is so disfigured that it is appearing as if broken pieces of glass are put upon a stone. It also means that the children are deprived of basic amenities, and their lives are shattered and broken. They do not have a clear future, and their present is also unclear to them. They are also living in bad conditions in the present. So the bottle, bits and stone is this condition which the poet is talking about. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, and this paragraph ends with, that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Question 1. What does the reference to the governor, inspector, and the visitor imply? This phrase means that unless the governor, inspector, or the visitor, basically the higher authorities, unless they do not intervene in making these children uplift from their poverty, they cannot move out of these conditions. They will go on to study in this elementary classroom with not a basic level of education. Unless they do not intervene, unless they do not do something about the infrastructure of the classroom, the lives of the poor, this school will only be existing for namesake, where no quality education would be given. Question 2. How does the map become their window? So this image of map, these images of maps and windows are basically the poet saying that the map is not their actual world. The map will only become the window to the outside beautiful world when the higher authorities do something to uplift these children out of their miseries. Until and unless they do not do something about these children, these maps will only be a false image of the outside world. The map will only become their window if the higher authorities do something for them, and they only gather themselves, they only work for themselves. Question 3. Explain shut upon their lives like catacombs. This phrase basically means that the children are denied of all the basic resources, the necessities, and they do not they have confined themselves to this world of their slum. So they are denied of all the natural beauties that the outside world has offered. Their lives shut up in the long underground valleys, the cemetery like spaces, and they struggle to come out of this. The literal meaning of the term catacomb is itself a long underground valley. Next paragraph starts with, break, oh break, open, till they break the town, and it ends with, history theirs whose language is the sun. Question 1. What hope does poet see in these lines? The poet sees that children would break free from this cycle of poverty, from this cycle of misery, and they will create a successful life for themselves with the help of knowledge and the help of the higher authorities who do something for them. Question 2. Explain, let their tongues run naked into books. With this line, the author is basically appealing to the privileged people that come out and help these children to gain the power of knowledge, expose these children to the true knowledge, the true meaning of knowledge, uplift them and make them feel the world of books and wisdom. Then only they will create a successful life for themselves. Question 3. What does the word sun symbolize in the last line? Sun is, as we know, it's a symbol of power, symbol of strength, and in this line, it means the brightness procured by knowledge, the light of wisdom, and God's grace. So this sun is symbolizing the power of knowledge and the light of wisdom. Question 4. What does the poet mean by and show the children to green fields? By this phrase, the poet is basically appealing. Again, he is appealing to the privileged people that show these children to the actual world, the beauty this outside world has to offer, and the world is not only confined to their dirty and filthy slum. Outside world has to offer many beauties, and take them out of their dark and dingy slum. Indirectly, he is saying that provide them with good quality conditions, good quality food, good quality shelter.